So folks, hello there. This was supposed to be a wonderful morning of photography, but look at my camera, it has decided to not work. I have had some shutter, like curtain issues with the camera in the past, and it's kind of jammed the odd time, but I was able to wedge it out. I think this time I may have, or it may have just gone too far, unfortunately. Like, I can see the curtain itself is actually ripped. Like, this is what you're looking at right there. It is not good, folks. Oh no, that looks worse.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's just that little bit just doesn't want to go back. Go to your home. This is your home. Yeah, I mean, it's proper damaged, you know. Jesus, what the hell's after happening there? Oh, now it's just turned off. Anyways, we are here at the wonderful Glendalough, and it is a beautiful, beautiful place.
I'm retired officially. So see you.
See you guys. Hello there folks, and how is it going? And welcome back to another video. Now that was a very, very nervous beginning. The shutter, the curtain seems to have righted itself, but as a long-term thing, I don't know how much longer it's had. As I say, I've had some issues with it in the past, but nonetheless it is working now. And welcome to Glendalough. This place is absolutely gorgeous, as you can probably tell from behind me here. So we are exploring this water's edge, taking some photographs. So one of the beautiful things about this location is, of course, the lakes. There are two of them, and they all have wonderful, wonderful views. Now, there is a stick here that was like in the frame. I don't know, nature just put it there for me. Thanks, nature. And I am trying to use that to use it as a nice foreground to bring us into this beautiful valley. Now, you know, this place is a very popular place for photography, and rightly so. It's gorgeous. Usually you see really nice pictures of like low fog and things like that, and you know, and obviously it is what it is when you get out here, so what can you do? But you know, nonetheless, it's so gorgeous and so quiet and so peaceful. We're delighted that we came. It's such a wonderful place to be. But you can see, hopefully in the background here, that there is a small bit of light beginning to touch the hills in the distance. So we'll certainly try and take advantage of that. But for now, I'm going to take advantage of nature's kindness and photograph this lovely stick here in the water. And if that image turns out to be any good, I will pop it up on the screen for you now. Welcome, friends, to the ASMR Photography Studio, and welcome to the first image of this adventure in Glendalough. Now, I'm not really too sure about this image at all. You can barely see the stick that nature so gloriously left for me, and yeah, so it's just kind of lost. Overall, if I was to shoot it again, I would just completely get rid of the fact that there's a stick there, you know, shoot it at like a 16:9, which I kind of do a bit later on, but yeah, it's okay, it's a good start. We'll call it a good start, and that's what's important. One thing I forgot to mention through my ramblings was that this particular photograph I actually took with the Sony a6500, which is the camera that we predominantly use to record the video on. When I was, you know, distraught and losing all hope and thinking the world was collapsing around me when my camera wasn't working, I figured let's still make some lemonade, you know, use the video camera to take some photographs, and I'm actually quite surprised at the results. It's nice and sharp, it's very clear. So this is a blended exposure as well. I did set the interval to take 3 shots, and I put them all together in Lightroom, and this is the result. So I was delighted with it, and I thought, well, you know what, I'm actually kind of surprised and happy that it worked out well, that I was able to put the camera a bit to the test. I really never take photographs with this Sony 6500, but delighted with this result. So while there's unfortunately a lot of motion and surface wind on the water here, we're not getting those reflections that we ultimately would like, but that's okay, because what we can do is still take advantage of some nice long exposure shots, and then using things like these stagnant rocks in the foreground to create this nice kind of sense of juxtaposition between the motion in the water and of course then the rocks. And the view, of course, as you can see here behind us, is absolutely magic. So it's really beautiful here. So yes, no reflections unfortunately, but we are having fun still, because there's actually some nice movement in the clouds. So I'm just kind of playing around now with some like really long exposures to see if I can at least try and introduce some movement in the cloud, which would then be nicely mirrored here in the water. So if any of those pictures turn out to be any good, I will pop them up on the screen for you now.
This is more akin to the kind of image that I was trying to create with the stick at the beginning. There's a beautiful stillness to this image that I really, really love. Shooting it wide in the way that I did emphasizes that kind of grandeur to the frame and makes that rock in the foreground just like pop a bit more, and I really, really love that about this image. I'm super duper happy with the smallest bit of light that was still lingering in the sky, and that slight long exposure as well, just dragging the clouds too, really helps punch the image out again, and it's really, really wonderful. I'm so delighted that this image came together so well.
So I have decided to put on my 100 to 400 lens. Y'all know how much I love that lens, and I am punched right in. There is like a cascade way off at the end of this valley. Essentially, this valley is marvelous. You can do a whole beautiful walk that takes you up and over these hills, and it is known as the Spink Trail, and it's really fantastic. At the end of the valley, there's an old miner's mine and you walk past that. There's some beautiful stuff down there as well, but essentially you can come up to the tops of these hills, which is great. But at the end, as I say, there is a cascade, so I've put my 100 to 400 on and zoomed all the way in to see if I can capture it. Now, without any real light, it's unfortunately very, very flat. It's a very good example of, you know, what light can do to a scene, or at least in this case, what not light can do to a scene. It's just very, very flat, so there's no real kind of contrast there. It's a nice scene for sure, but just right now at this moment, it's unfortunately just very flat. The sun is up, what's it now, 20 to 9. It's up about a half an hour, and I really, really hope that I can burn through some of the cloud that's up here behind us. Because if you do get some nice glow on these hills, by all means, you know, it really will help the photographs for sure. But for now, we are enjoying ourselves nonetheless. There's some beautiful gorse out at the minute. Yeah, it's all beginning now. Oh, and today is Imbolc, which is the first day of spring, or at least in Celtic terms, it's the first day of spring. So welcome to spring. And also as well, this is a very special weekend here because it is Lála Bríde, which is St. Bridget's Day. Monday, this coming Monday, is a bank holiday, and so fair play to Bridget and all her saintliness. She was our Celtic goddess of spring. So Imbolc and Lála Bríde, welcome to springtime, and what a beautiful place to start that springtime. Now there's some nice movement happening up here in the clouds, so I'm going to quickly change back to my other lens and again see if I can try and photograph that in any kind of meaningful way. So if this long expo, or if this zoomed in picture turns out to be any good, I'll pop it up on the screen for you now anyways.
So here is the result of my long exposure using the 100 to 400. I actually really like it, but as I mentioned, without that kind of light, it's flat, you know, there's no real kind of pop in there, and streaking the clouds all you want doesn't really make it any better. It's still nice, and I still like the aesthetic of the long exposure, but without that bit of light, it's just flat, and it's just a wonderful kind of example of how light can add wonderful contrast to your frames, and how it really, really helps in landscape photography. And this is a good example of it not being there, but still an overall nice frame nonetheless.
So I have decided to put my 10 stop on to try and get a really long exposure to try and take advantage of the movement in the clouds. Obviously we're going to totally glass out the water, which is totally great because again there's no reflections, so we might as well kind of lean into that and just try make it as smooth as possible. But one of the things that I like to do when I need to take, my camera can only do 30 seconds and then it's bulb mode. So I actually use the Sony app on my phone to connect it. I do have an intervalometer, but this I find I just touch it off the side of the camera and it's connected, and we're long exposure-ing. So right now we are up to a minute and a half. I think I'll let it run for maybe about 2 minutes or so to see where we are from there. But hopefully it turns out to be good, and we can see some nice movement in the clouds because they are fairly moving quick. And I actually can just see now, just behind Orla, a bit of blue in the sky, which bodes well for us. And hopefully some sunlight can peek through and light up this whole scene for us here. But nonetheless, it is gorgeous. Maybe we'll make some coffee now. So folks, delighted to see the bit of light kissing the top of the mountain here now for us. Let me stop this picture. I don't know what I'm saying now because I'm excited about the fact that there's light happening. So what we're going to do is take a breath, look and enjoy the light, and then I'm going to worry about taking a photograph. But it is really gorgeous now. So this is a good example now of how your expectations about a location can be high, and then you get totally smashed when you arrive at a place because it's not so nice and the camera breaks, and you realize there's no way of replacing these things. But then you see a bit of light start to happen and all becomes glorious again. I'm going to look at the back of the camera, see if this long exposure worked. Which it did. So what I'm going to do now is, the fact that there's the light up on the hills, I'm going to take a shorter long exposure to try and, because I can see that in the frame. Come on, connect, you bloody thing. Here I was given a props there just a second ago about it connecting also readily and easy, and now it's just not. It's just not. Okay, here we go. So bulb mode, reset the timer, and like I was saying, so in this frame, I hope you can see. Can you see? So there is some light up there, and that is in the image that I just took. So I'm going to take that same picture again, and hopefully we can see some of this light. I'll obviously need to make it a little bit shorter so I don't blow out any of the kind of detail in the landscape. But yeah, it's great, but it is fleeting very fast. So let's enjoy. That was a mad ramble.
So here's the result of the long exposure that I was just rambling about. I purposely made the valley darker to help emphasize and make that tiny bit of light kissing the top of these hills pop, and the contrast between that and the blue in the sky and the long exposure, mirroring the long exposure in the water, to me really brought this whole frame together. I am super happy with the way this particular one turned out, and for me is a reminder that even though the ideal conditions may not have been there when I arrived, it's still worthwhile persevering and pushing yourself to try and create images nonetheless, because when you receive results like these and the light dances as it did, it's all worth it, and it's such a wonderful pursuit, and I absolutely love that about this image.
So folks, we have found this lovely fence that goes out into the water. Essentially, this is all cliffside here beside us here, and you don't really want to, it says it there, unless you're well equipped and able, stay on this side of the fence. So that's what we are doing. It's a very classic kind of scene, a fence in water, and kind of this kind of landscape is, you know, it's beautiful. It's very obvious really, but nonetheless, we are going to take it too. Orla and I have swapped lenses, and my thinking behind it is that I wanted a bit more reach, which I needed the 28-75 to give me. I'm going to polarize, and I'm going to put potentially the 6-stop on, but I also want to shoot it at a narrower depth of field. I essentially want to have a bit of extra separation. My intention is to focus at the end of the fence, and then I kind of want the rest of it just to kind of fall away and just, you know, start to turn into some lovely creaminess. So that's my intention behind it. So let's set up the shot and let's see if we can make it work.
And you know what? I like it. It's simple and it's just easy going. And like I mentioned, it's very obvious, but for me, in this particular kind of landscape with the kind of gloominess and the pop of green in the background, I'm really, really happy with the way that it turned out. And you know what? Looking at it right now as I record this voiceover, it really is something that I don't photograph enough of, as this kind of traditional landscape, if you will. And I really, really love that about this image. So it's certainly kind of tweaked my interest in relation to, you know, trying to find, even though they may seem obvious shots, it's still worthwhile seeking them out and taking them, because if you get results like this and results that you see from other folks, then it's absolutely worth your while taking those pictures anyways, even though they may seem very obvious.
think we are going to leave it here. Now look, the images may not be as compelling as one would have liked to hope, but that's not the point. The point is getting out and enjoying the surroundings nonetheless. It is what it is when you get there. There is only so much you can pre-plan for. What a beautiful, beautiful place this is. Or as you would have seen from all of the nice, lovely B-roll that we captured along the way here, this place is just, it's really magic. You know, there's a magic to the air here. You can see why it was picked, you know, and it's really, really fantastic for that reason. You know, one of the beautiful things about these round towers is that when the Vikings used to raid, you know, when they would come and raid places, the monks used to go up to these towers and hide, and who knows, they probably pooed from the top onto them and as like a defense. But probably not. Well, no, you can see the windows at the top. Or zoom in.
They threw stuff on.
Zoom in right there, see if you can see those windows.
Yeah.
Can you see those windows? Now picture a bum hanging out of the back of that, and you are Viking, and then thinking, oh my God, am I going to get pooed on? I need to leave. There are a few of these other round towers that are ruins, all dotted around the country. So you could imagine that they probably just got battered over time, or the Vikings smashed through and, you know, weren't deterred by the poo. And, but anyways, I'm going to stop this mad ramble. But if you liked the video, folks, do please hit that like button. And if you fancy following along for more adventures like this one, you're most welcome to hit that subscribe button. But for now, I will see you all in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Cheers.